Hi. I'm excited. Once again, I'm back today, and this is the Tipcast show. My name is Kim Beasley. I'm the host, and I am interviewing someone who is going to bring awesome information to you today. And this information is for small business owners who want to set up set up processes that will help you be prepared in case disaster hits. Yes, I know some people are like, what, disaster hitting, really? You know what, it can happen at any moment and you need to be prepared. So today I'm interviewing someone who is actually a good friend. Her name is ShelleyRae O'Connor. And she's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and then I'm going to start asking her questions to help you understand how she can help you get your business, your small business, prepared for business survival during a flood. ShelleyRae, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Kim. I'm so excited. I love when we get to do these things. My company is Crisis Prevention and Restoration, and I specialize in small businesses and making sure their business and their income is resilient. What that means is you don't want to wait 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 weeks, months for your income to come back if something happens. We've seen South Carolina flood this year. We are readying California to have their mudslides and floods this year after all of these fires. We've already seen one across the Tejon Pass, of course, and just want to make sure small business realize that after disaster strikes is not the time to ensure your small business will survive. We assist the small businesses to minimize the catastrophic impact, and we do that through preparation and training.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's get right into the questions because you have a lot of information to share today, and I want to make sure you have the exact amount of time you need. So the first question I have for you is, do small businesses really need to worry about forced closure?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if you've heard about Lake County and the Napa earthquake and the fires up here in Lake County, and we've got businesses that are definitely closed. They burnt to the ground. Wow. So it really is something that has to be looked at. And this was a small town, so, the firefighters drew a line down the center of town and literally were defending the downtown. If you can imagine almost the pictures really from like the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, it was that bad. So, the goal is you can't fight a fire and safeguard profitability. You've got to have a plan, and small businesses with plans really do become resilient, and they have an income and they're able to support their community versus without plans, they're forced straight into survival recovery mode. And that's not the best place to be.
I agree. And with that in mind, one of the things that I think about is like when disasters hit, such as Katrina and Sandy, the 2015 wildfires and the South Carolina flooding. One of the things I think about is, what am I doing to prepare my business just in case something happens in my home? Do I have insurance? What are some of the lessons that we can learn from these disasters that have occurred that can help small business owners prepare for disaster?
Biggest thing is a disaster action plan, a contingency operations plan, and really strong relationships. Kim, you and I know with small businesses and as small business owners, those relationships, that's what we live for. That's what keeps us going and keeps us bumped up. And those relationships and that handshake and that community, that's what really brings in the support as you come back out of a disaster. You have to prepare ahead of time, though. Mm-hmm. You can't suddenly tomorrow decide that you need a new vendor and, as you're standing in mud, interview vendors. It's just not going to work.
So
And
what are some of the things that small businesses can do to prepare for disasters?
the first one's going to be to really, with El Nino coming, with the winter coming, we're told this is a very wet winter. Right now, today, buy flood insurance. This is the time. It covers flooding and mud flows, not mudslides. It is a national program, so if an insurance agent says, "Oh, we don't have flood insurance," or "Oh, that's not available," yes, it is. It's a national program. If the insurance agent isn't licensed to participate in it, they can't, and they will give you excuses. Every
Mm.
business, every homeowner, every renter is eligible, it's available to you. So there's no reason. But there is a 30-day waiting period. So now is the time to do that, because of what we're expecting with this El Nino. Next one's going to be, to really have some sort of plan both for evacuating, restarting your business, and that's where those contingency of operation plans and the disaster action plan comes into play. The disaster action plan is, what do you do right now as the flood comes, or as the tornado touches down, or as the earthquake hits? What's in the now? And then the contingency operations plan is, how do we restart? How do we get that income coming into us before the waters even recede, before anything? So having a plan, my big wisdom for that is, have a plan and change your business's survival chances. Because small business, they need it. You can't rely on the SBA.
Wow, those are really great points. Now, I want to get into what some of the greatest risks that can be experienced by small business owners in the sense of disasters.
Permanent closure, Kim. That's the thing that I worry about the most. With permanent closure, the impact goes beyond just the business, and sometimes, as business owners, we overlook that. If our business isn't there, then income isn't there. If that income's not there, then those employees aren't being paid. If those employees aren't being paid, then they move on. And it really does, it's a trickle down situation, but it's also a trickle up situation. Small businesses, they support the counties, the cities, the state at very intimate levels in everything from politics to taxes. And so when a business goes out, it really hurts all along the stream, so to speak, since we're talking floods. Um, and so, you need a business safety and an emergency well-being plan so you can restore those operations, a strategy for bringing in enough money to cover ongoing expenses such as your mortgage or your rent, utilities, employee salaries, taxes, loans, all of those things. Even if you can't officially open your doors, you still have to have a plan, because those things are going to continue to roll in on you. And when those things roll in with no plan, that's when permanent closure becomes something that's really a big possibility for them.
There's something you said, family and employees. I know in my small business that I actually have contractors, not employees, and they are virtual. Well, can you speak to disaster recovery for virtual businesses? Because that's something that I'm really concerned about.
Absolutely. With virtual businesses, you're actually preset in what I consider a really good spot. But it changes how you plan. So your business, your family, employees, they're all going to need their own plans and strategies. And by being virtual, that you open up that communication channel, and it can be really beneficial. For instance, you and I are in two different states, in fact, two different coasts. You're mid-state or mid-US, and I'm west coastal. So having contractors that are in sort of yours and I's sort of position, hopefully, if something were hitting in your area, it wouldn't be affecting my area. And so it's really good to actually have a virtual business with contractors, but they need to be as prepared as you need to be. We talk about things with our clients like getting out ahead of time. Don't wait when they say, we've got an 80% chance of flooding. Go to a nice high hotel. I mean, above the floodplain. Get out. Make sure you take your chargers and all your stuff, and make sure they have a generator. So you're back up and running virtually within a very short amount of time. And that needs to be something you discuss with your contractors. What is their plans? Do they plan to be available to you? I know I lost a contractor when 2 years ago when the Philippines got hit. Not that she was hurt or anything else, but there was no electricity. No electricity meant there was no web, which meant that she couldn't get online. She finally found and borrowed an emergency system to blast out to all of her clients that she was safe, just so we would know, but that she had no access to anything. And it was almost 3 weeks before she gained access again because of that. So
wow.
it
Well,
really helped.
One of the things that I personally have done is this is a MiFi, which means that I will have internet anywhere I go. So I literally, I know this may sound funny to some people, at any given time, my MiFi is in my bag, along with my computer being close at hand, just in case I need to get out of the home and get to safety. And that's just something I, as a small business owner who works out of my home, feel that I need to do. I need to be prepared to to take my business on the road. And the best thing about being a virtual business, I can work from anywhere as long as I have internet access.
Absolutely. We've talked about this before because we've traveled together, and I come way more prepared than most people ever dream of.
Okay, you have to tell the story about Texas.
Oh, Texas was interesting. Kim and I met in Texas. We did a weekend boot camp type of thing in Texas. And unbeknownst to us, the state of Texas had declared a state of emergency 2 days before we arrived. Apparently, the hotel, being a sound mind and body and a brilliant business person, they sent everything but all of their employees home except for 10%. They were 90% full. This created quite the quandary for us. But in the middle of the night, true to the reports, Kim and I lost power. We were down for, I don't know, like 8 hours or something, Kim? Something like that, right? And
what was the brilliant thing that you as a disaster recovery person said before the lights went out, before we even went to bed? By the way, we were roommates at this event. It was a business event we were at.
Yeah, and it was an ice storm. So you have to put in, this was this horrible ice storm that hit Texas a couple of years ago. Well, I didn't want Kim getting cold. She's got some medical issues, so I was very worried about her. So we turned our heater up to 85, and we were roasting. We were like, oh my gosh, this is too hot in here. And we've got the covers that were roasting. When the lights went out, power goes out. That's when they found out their generator didn't work, so nothing came back on for about 8 hours. And at the 8-hour mark, we were down to like 65, right?
Yeah.
And we were just starting to get cold. We had a full bathtub full of water in case anything froze, so we could have clean water to drink. And we were pretty set. The only thing we didn't have was, we had 2 different sets of phones going. I think at the time you were on Verizon and I was on AT&T, so
I was on Sprint. So we had phone coverage.
We had phone coverage, yep. So, and I now carry Verizon and AT&T everywhere I go. Kim had her MiFi, so we had access to reach other people, let them know that we were safe. We were really quite set, other than, being that it was the middle of the night and it's very weird to be sleeping in a completely dark room. This hotel was so ill prepared that they actually didn't have the right emergency lights. And that was a big factor. And so this is something I would suggest when people are looking at small business owners of where you might want to evacuate to. If it's a twister or a hurricane or flood, whatever might be your emergency, walk that hotel. Consider a hotel, but walk it. You want emergency lighting that comes up automatically. You want to talk to them about their generator and if it works and how often they've used it. Also, if you are the child of an aging parent, please do the same thing with your parents' aging home, whether they're in assisted living or whatever. Please, there is nothing scarier than being only 4 miles away from a family member and not able to support them because it's too unsafe. That's my big message today, is because as a business owner, you can't leave mom behind.
Most definitely.
You can't.
We've shared some really great tips today, about small business, being prepared when you travel as a small business owner. Now let's get into the money part. How can we prepare for disaster to keep our income flowing during a disaster?
Wow. Well, that's going to be a little more tricky because every business is so unique. And so as crisis prevention and restoration, we look at every business and we try to come up with ways that they can do that. The biggest one is training your employees. If you only have one key carrier, you're going to run into a bit of problems, because if they're not flooded, if one person's flooded and the other person's not, but the key is nowhere near, you can't open. So we look at key carriers. We look at making sure that your bank is well prepared. Can you walk into your bank? Will your bank tell you, oh, because you're flooded, because the Wells Fargo flooded in your town, all of your personal bankers have now moved? You want that personal relationship. Personal relationships. That's how you're going to save money. That's how you're going to strengthen your business. More than one vendor coming in. What happens if your vendor was in South Carolina and couldn't ship for 6 weeks because of this flood, because they had so much damage? So we're looking at things that strengthen all across the whole business, just depending on what you do. We talked a lot about how to strengthen a virtual, and that will cost some money in some ways. Like, it costs me additional money to have 2 sets of phones going. But in the end, because my business can keep going and I don't lose income, that cost is nothing. I write it off my taxes. That's no big deal.
I agree.
Flood insurance, another one. Make sure your credit, if you're a company that might need credit, make sure that your credit is running no more than 60%. You want to have at least 40% of your credit lines free. This is going to allow you to walk into another vendor and say, here, I've got a credit line. You can also have all the paperwork ready with your personal banker. So in an emergency, you may not want to have open credit, because that's not always good for your credit, actual credit, to have it open. But you can always have all the forms ready with your personal banker. And rely on him. If you can't trust your banker, get a new one. Have a good CPA. If you can't trust your CPA, get a new one. Yeah. Oh, and as we know very well too, Kim and I put a lot of our documents, we copy those documents and we keep them virtually, so that in an emergency, there's no question we can get to those documents, which means that the information's available. I can file with my insurance company in minutes because I keep all those documents virtual.
I agree. Okay, now this may sound funny. I sort of got pulled over by the police for a ticket, and I sort of kind of forgot to have my insurance card with me because my insurance company is so awesome. I was able to pull up all of my information on my phone and show it to the police officer for my insurance, and she was like, "Okay, that's fine." So anytime you have a need for insurance, make sure that you can access all of your information virtually. That's the best thing I can say. Um, Now, I want to get into some myth buster things.
Ooh, love Mythbusters.
For a long time, I didn't think I needed business insurance, and then I started dealing with a corporation who required that I have business insurance. I was like, man, that's another expense. But when I thought about it, I was like, okay, this is a good idea. So, what are some of the greatest myth busters or myth disasters that small business owners may face?
The biggest one is that the FEMA Small Business Administration or insurance are going to cover everything, or that they will do it fast. Neither of those things are guaranteed. The insured losses from natural catastrophes and man-made disasters in 2014 totaled $34 billion worldwide. That's huge. And in Sandy alone, because one of the things it takes a while for us to get the information and the statistics. So right now, the statistics we have available is Superstorm Sandy, which was 2012. And 35% of the more than 34,000 commercial property claims closed since the storm did not result in a payment, which is huge. I mean, that's just if you're going to your insurance company and filing a claim, you obviously have had a significant loss. And to think that 35%, that's crazy. And so that actually came out to about 11,900 unpaid claims.
Wow.
The number's stunning. And they have, if I'm sure Kim knows this, but for others who may not know, you can talk to your insurance agent about what's called business interruption claim or business interruption insurance, which basically means if something interrupts your business, under certain circumstances, your insurance will cover the cost of that. In Superstorm Sandy, 37% of the 12,600 businesses that filed for interruption claims were not paid. So that's almost 5,000 claims. So again, those numbers don't sound really big when we're looking in all of, in the totality of it all, unless you're one of those 5,000 people, in which case it's potentially very devastating, and it could close your business, and it may permanently close your business. So the myth that insurance will cover it, or SBA will cover it, or FEMA will cover it, it's really not there. But still, a good, strong insurance plan. Before, though, anything happens, when you get this plan, you get an insurance plan, sit down with your agent, sit down with their supervisor, and ask them, what paperwork do I need to make sure that when I file a business interruption claim, that it gets covered? What information do I need to make sure that if I have a commercial property claim, it gets covered? Now, in Sandy, we're still talking flood here. So it's very possible that the reason these weren't covered is that they didn't buy flood insurance.
That's really sad, and I understand the disaster and the flood and this whole Sandy thing, but I also understand that I would rather have too much insurance than not enough. Because and when I started working with this corporation, I had already been working with them and didn't have business insurance, but then they went to a new way of invoicing and paying out invoices. And that new way was through a third party. That third party, gosh, I had to fill out so much paperwork. I had to submit so much business information, so much information um, about my insurance. One of the best things I did was I actually had one of my contractors do some research to find insurance for small business owners, because not everyone will do business with, will insure small businesses.
Absolutely.
And after, in the special type of insurance I needed, even though I don't use my car, I had to insure my automobile.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just freaking me out. I'm like, I got to insure my automobile, even though I'm a virtual business. All right, okay. I mean, just even though that I thought that it was a little bit overkill, I can kind of see where they're coming from. So one of the things I would definitely say is work with your insurance agent, just like ShelleyRae said, work with your insurance agent. Make sure you have more than enough insurance in place so that if something does happen to your business, you have no problem getting the insurance claim paid. And at this point, the company I ended up going with, who actually walked me through saying, okay, this is the type of insurance you need, this is what you need to do. It was the Hartford.
Oh.
And,
Now, see, they didn't do so well with me, but I ended up with a great person from Farmers.
mm-hmm.
And I've got amazing coverage because one of the things I was concerned about was I carry children in my car. So my insurance is specialized and includes this wonderful thing called MetaPay. MetaPay means that no matter whether that child has insurance or doesn't have insurance, no matter what financial, all of the medical bills are paid by my insurance company immediately.
And so
Not
you have different needs
before I leave the hospital.
Yeah. It depends on the small business needs. So
But they ended up doing it as a personal insurance for me because I'm not generating enough income to be a full-on business.
right,
But I've got $1 million in liability coverage as well because, like you and I, we're information people. We're giving out information.
Virtual.
And there's always a risk that will be misinterpreted or taken out of context. So there's lots of things with insurance, but you know, the biggest thing right now, not only with winter, with flooding coming, but winter coming, pack your car. It doesn't take long. A good pair of shoes, you know, because if something happens, if you can walk away and leave your car and put your backpack on, traveling, I love the wheeled suitcases for this. They're fantastic for it. Pack yourself a nice little overnight bag, warm clothes, change of clothes, good walking shoes. And right now, I'm even suggesting people pack their favorite sleeping bag and pillow so that if they do end up caught in their car because of some unexpected storm, that's going to help a lot. And if you're really the gung-ho type like I am, I actually carry what's called a jet boil, basically a backpacker's stove, because I'm sorry, a cup of hot cocoa or a cup of coffee can solve lots of issues.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
with the last few minutes, give me last few words I want from you. Take about 2 minutes and just give like a last minute wisdom kind of thing, and also tell people how they can get in touch with you after viewing this interview.
Okay. Well, the best way to get in touch with me is direct, either through my website at www.cpr4biz.com. The name of the business is Crisis Prevention and Restoration. And my wisdoms are really, don't wait, do it now. Realize that your homeowner policies won't cover business losses, and neither your homeowner or your business policy will cover flood loss or mudslides. So, or mud flows. So check on what you need. And if you're told it's not available, call another broker. It is probably available. Get a plan, an evacuation plan, whatever. Talk to your employees. You need to be able to reopen. If you don't have 90 days worth of income sitting that you can just put your hands on to restart your business, then you need a plan, because
Yes.
if that means you're like the rest of us, and if income doesn't flow, business doesn't grow.
Ooh, I like that. If income doesn't flow,
Business
business doesn't grow.
doesn't.
Thank you.
So, well, it's been fun, Kim,
It's been
and
fun having you here.
I would love to do this again with maybe some of the other fun things. You know, we've got winter weather coming up that we could talk about.
Yes.
We're going to have, I think we're going to see some interesting storm seasons with this El Nino,
Hmm.
and some interesting things coming up. So
I will have
hopefully,
you
and if
back.
anybody has questions, please drop us a line. Either one of us will be happy to start up another webinar on this.
Most definitely. And once again, I am Kim Beasley, host of the Tipcast show, bringing you industry leaders who can help you grow your small business. Thanks again, ShelleyRae. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.